All right, there we go. We got it. My my mic was not set. My bad about that. But yeah, good morning, everybody. It is Sunday. The Cubs have a chance to even up themselves and get to 500 today as we play against Arizona in the series finale against them. So what I'm doing here is there we go. All right. So yeah, what we're gonna do is we're gonna look over the game from yesterday, and then we're gonna briefly look at the game that will happen, the getaway game today. So without further ado, let me just pull it up here. There we go. So yeah, the Cubs win 4-3 in very dramatic fashion last night. I mean, it was just a crazy ending. The Cubs scored in the fourth, the fifth, and the seventh inning, total of 4 runs. We'll go through the batting here real quick. Ian Happ, a very rare 0 for last night. He went 0 for 5 with one strikeout. I'm not too worried about Ian Happ. He's usually pretty consistent throughout, the entirety of the season, so I'm not really going to worry too bad about him. Um, Kyle Tucker, he goes 3 for 4 with a hit, a home run, a two-hit home run. Very awesome for him to get that first one out of the way. I really enjoyed, seeing that for him. I really think that, now that the season has started, I mentioned it in my breakdown from the domestic opener win video that Kyle Tucker, his at bats looked more competitive day one versus Japan and spring training as a whole. So I do think that as the season goes on, he will definitely be way more competitive. I think that he's one of those guys where he can flip that switch going into the regular season. I think that that's definitely going to be a big help because Seiya Suzuki also goes 0 for 4 last night. Seiya Suzuki's just having a really hard time. 3 of those at bats were strikeouts. He's either not seeing the ball or his timing's just not right. There's a couple of times where he's swinging at balls that are way high out of the zone that he knows he shouldn't be swinging at. He just looks a little bit lost right now. He's batting 0.95 on the season through the first 5 games. I feel like that'll level out as it gets going because he does typically get a little bit of a slow start. At least he did last year and 2023. That it took him a couple of weeks to really get going. So I mean, I feel like he'll get better, especially at the DH spot. I know that that's a little rough for him. He just seems to have a track record to start off a little bit slow. So I do think that that will get better as the season progresses. Just not looking too hot right now. Michael Bush goes 2 for 3. He also drew a walk. Just good stuff out of Michael Bush, just staying nice and consistent. Dansby Swanson, 0 for 4 with a strikeout, but again, his at bats they at least look better at the eye test than at least uh, the first 2 games against Arizona because he was swinging at balls that were, I mean, down in the dirt on a strikeout, and it looked really terrible. So at least yesterday looked a little bit better, at least from my point of view. Plus, he also had that awesome game-ending play, which we'll get to a little bit later. Pete Crow Armstrong, he drew a walk. He went 0 for 4 with 2 Ks, but he did score a run, so that's awesome for him. Miguel Amaya, he stays hot. He was 1 for 4. I believe he drew in Crow Armstrong there. Pete Crow Armstrong's going from first again. I mean, his speed is just ridiculous. I mean, Pete Crow Armstrong's speed is just something else, man. Gage Workman 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts. However, he did look really good over at third base while he was in all day long. Matt Shaw, man, hey, awesome for him. He went 1 for 2 with a home run. He got his first MLB home run, which is awesome for him. I love to see that. Um, with with him getting his first home run, especially off the bench, which is also kind of funny. Yeah, he didn't actually get his home run like playing the entire game, just straight off the bench. That's awesome. John Birdie was in for Nico Horner today, as we expected and already talked about a couple of times. Nico Horner will have a couple of design days off early in the season just because he wasn't completely 100% when he came back for this series. So early on in the season, we'll probably see him have a couple of extra days off that he normally wouldn't have, which I'm also okay with that because, I don't want him to overextend himself, but also the way that your schedule starts, I can understand not being able to afford him to wait to be 100% healthy. But also at the same time, if that's his call, not Craig Counsell's call, if he's saying that he wants to play, also just give him that extra day off here and there just to make sure that he does get to 100% and he doesn't wind up re-aggravating it to end up on the IL because that would also suck too. But he goes, yeah, John Birdie, 1 for 4. He also draws in a run. So total on the day, 36 at bats, 4 runs on 8 hits, and 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. Again, I think that the at bats could have been a little bit better. I think that it does look a little bit better than yesterday because not all these guys struck out swinging. Some of them were just unlucky, just really unlucky hits, a couple of double plays. But everybody's making contact, which is what I like to see. Everybody for the most part is making more solid contact. So those hits will come, which is also funny because in the case of Matt Shaw, and I really wish that I was able to do a video yesterday for Friday's game because I had tweeted out that Matt Shaw was looking really good and not to worry because the hits will come. And then the guy goes and hits a home run. I mean, I expected it just to be, a regular hit because of the the way that his hits were going. It's not like he was striking out. He was making contact and in some cases actually really good contact. He was just those balls were just going either into an outfielder's glove or he was just getting unlucky with infielders stopping the ball from getting into the outfield. So I knew that he was going to get a hit for his first, for a hit to be a home run. That's awesome for Matt Shaw. You love to see that. For the pitchers, Imanaga went today. In my opinion, he should have been the number 2 guy. He should have played Friday instead. But he he loads the bases in the second inning, only allows 1 run because the bases were loaded with no outs, if I recall right. It was no outs. He winds up getting out of it with just allowing 1 run. He winds up going 7 innings. He allowed 3 total hits, 1 run, 1 earned, 2 walks, 4 Ks. His ERA sits at an 0.82. So he gets the win. Porter Hodge, he allows 2 hits. He struck out 2, but he still has a 0 ERA. So yeah, he allows 2 men to get on. Um, Again, I don't know if he's just not trusting his fastball right now. I just don't know if he just doesn't have the location. But it seemed like once he got to that slider, man, he just mowed him down. So he puts up zeros other than just the 2 hits. But let's talk about Ryan Presley because this is where this ninth inning, man, you're up 3 runs. Um, you're up 4-1, and Presley comes in. He allows 4 hits, 2 runs, a 2 run homer to Suarez, I believe. He allows a walk, 1 strikeout. His ERA now sits at 9. Um, Look, I need the Cubs to have an extremely short hook with this guy. I know that he's coming from an organization that had a lot of success, but people also had a lot to say about him. People called him things like Ryan Stressley. People are calling him Hector Neris 2.0. Um, Granted, you still got the win, but we've seen this song and dance before. We've seen this movie play out. You can't let your closer struggle early just because you guaranteed him the closer spot. And I think that a lot of people would agree with that. I understand that Presley is a good veteran. He's a good presence. I know that he's done a lot of good things. But again, the way that the whole Hector Neris and Adbert Alzolay situation played out last year, granted, Alzolay was also injured, and we didn't know that at the time until he went on the IL. Then Neris came in. I mean, we blew 26 saves, I believe, by the All-Star break, and that's just crazy because that's 26 wins that you're not accounting for. That would put the Cubs at 26 wins. I mean, that puts the Cubs at 109 wins on the season if you don't blow those saves. Granted, I understand that you're also not going to save every single save situation, but just imagine saving 20 of those 26 or 18 of those 26. I mean, that puts you in the upper 90s for wins, no problem. And that puts you right there with the Brewers. I mean, we lost the division by what, 11, 12 games last year. So if you get just 12 of those 26 saves, you're right there with the Brewers, and you're definitely in the wild card talk, right? So this is a situation where, um, you know, I would give him some more slack if he looked really good in spring training and in Japan. The problem is that he didn't. He struggled really bad in spring training, and what was really weird was that he was up in the eighth spot, and then Porter Hodge was coming to close out the games. Um, and then he also didn't look really good against the Dodgers at all. Granted, Dodgers, I understand that, and the Dodgers were long going to win both games anyways. But I just don't know how long I myself can hold on and wait for that closer spot to really get going because especially with the way that this schedule is front loaded for the Cubs with, Arizona, the Athletics on paper actually have a really good roster, so those aren't necessarily going to be gimme wins either when we go to Sacramento. Then you play the Dodgers and you play the Padres at home. So, or you play the Padres and then the Dodgers, whichever order that's in. But either way, I mean, we've already talked about how your front 15 to 20 games is really heavily loaded with people that went pretty deep into the postseason, and have really, really good rosters. You've already faced the Dodgers once. That's a whole nother problem to add to it. So I just don't know how long you can wait and give Presley a lot of chances, especially high leverage situations where he's coming into the game only up one run. Uh, your saving grace, and we'll talk about that in detail. It's the thumbnail of today's video or today's live, which will end up being a video later. But um, you know, Dansby Swanson made an unbelievable save to save that run. Really heads up play. He picks up the ball and he goes to throw the ball home like he's gonna get this runner trapped in a rundown, and then right after he looks like he's gonna throw it, he snaps over and runs over to third base, chases down that runner on third, dives for him, gets the final out of the game. Uh, Look, even though Dansby Swanson did not get a hit in today's game, um, he's gonna win my MVP for sure. If I have to pick a position player and a pitcher, pitching wise, it's gonna go to Imanaga. Like I said, for him to have the bases loaded to get out of that with one run and then continue on and pitch 7 innings in the game. Really, I think he could have gone eight because he was at 78 pitches when he got taken out. He could have at least started the eighth, but I understand, the first couple of starts during the year, you really want to limit your starters to around that 75 pitch mark, which I understand it. Um, but um, he winds up getting 7 innings out of that after really loading up the bases on and extending that second inning. My position player, Dansby Swanson, he definitely gets an MVP pick for this game for me because, again, to end the game that way when Presley was really, really struggling, if it wasn't for Dansby Swanson, that could have ended up being a tie game and we would have gone at least into extras had they not walked it off. So, yeah, I think that it's really good that the defense is playing well early. Obviously, you definitely want that. Dansby Swanson's already made a plethora of Gold Glove caliber plays. And an honorable mention too, Pete Crow Armstrong, man, he's what 10 to 15 feet off the warning track and guns down Josh Naylor at third on a tag up from second. Yeah, let's talk about that play for a second. That play was absolutely insane because, yeah, I get it that it's Josh Naylor, but the impressive part was the accuracy of that throw from Pete Crow Armstrong for me. I mean, Pete Crow Armstrong, that play goes from, and he's more in right center than he is dead center field. So he's even further away from third base, right? And he threw that ball with pinpoint accuracy. I mean, just he got it right there. I mean, right on top of the base for Workman to come down or come up with it, and then I mean that throw was astronomically insane. I mean, hell of a play from Pete Crow Armstrong. That was epic. I loved it. That was great. Um, but yeah, you know, the players that aren't really doing well at the plate right now, which I do believe that they will get better. Don't get me wrong. They're making excellent defensive plays to make up for it, which is good. I mean, you need to see that. Um, but you know, with the Presley situation, man, I hope that he either A, figures it out really quick, or B, Council has a very, very short hook with him because I cannot watch this movie play out again. I honestly can't. I do not want to see um I do not want to see the Cubs get into a hole early like they did in 2023 because of the back of the end or the back of the bullpen issues. I think Porter Hodge will be stellar whether he's in the eighth or the ninth. I have no problems with him. Um, the rest of the bullpen too, for the most part, I really don't have a problem with because I will give Jed Hoyer some massive credit. He did a really good job at making the bullpen very deep with everybody that they signed. Granted, with the roster cuts to get it down to 26 men, some of those guys are no longer here, but um, there's still plenty of depth down there at AAA. People that got DFA'd, cleared waivers, they just got outrighted to Iowa. There's plenty of depth to help with the bullpen throughout the whole year if some guys don't work out. So there's depth there. It's just the closer thing. Like you got to be able to rectify this closer spot very, very fast because uh, I think us as Cubs fans are pretty sick and tired of seeing games being given up. At least in my opinion. You guys let me know what you think about that down below um, in the comments section if you see this as a video. But for today's matchups, both lefties. We'll just kind of talk about it really quick. Um, so for the Cubs, it's Boyd. I really would kind of like to see Ben Brown in the fourth spot against a team like Arizona. I think that Ben Brown might have slightly better stuff than Boyd. Um, but nonetheless, I mean, awesome that Ben Brown got elevated to that fifth rotational spot. I love that for him. But it is Boyd and Rodriguez. Both are left-hand pitchers. So yeah, you got Marte, Perdomo, Gurriel, Grichuk for a right field. So I know I'm butchering that last name. That's just a weird spelling for me. Naylor, Suarez, Hampson, Thomas, and Herrera. Their lineup is obviously subject to change. The Cubs have not released their lineup yet. However, I have a feeling that it's going to be more or less the same lineup that we saw yesterday. Might see Suzuki and Kyle Tucker flip in the order, and you also would probably see um, you would probably see got Turner get the start over Michael Bush, given that they are facing a lefty. So you might see Turner in today's game. Oh, look, I think that I think that let me see if I could see his. No, I cannot see uh, preseason stuff on the MLB website. So I think that the Cubs, as long as their offense keeps getting hits and hard hits too, even if it shows up as an over in the box score, as long as you're getting the bat on the ball, um, as long as you're moving guys over, as long as the base coaches keep playing the stealing that they have been so far this year, that's a really big upgrade. I want to touch on this too real quick. A really big upgrade over last year already that I see is the amount of chances being taken on the bases. especially the faster guys. Horner, Pete Crow Armstrong, Dansby Swanson, Kyle Tucker. I mean, they're sending guys a lot, and I love it. I love to see that. That only helps produce runs because the Cubs have a habit of having men on base but no outs and then not cashing in on it. So if you keep up your steals and double steals, you're bound to run knock a guy in. So I love the aggression there, and I also think that with I think that as long as you keep getting the ball on the bat, even if it's not a hit, I do think that, especially deep fly balls that can help get guys over, that can help run score. I think that the Cubs have a serious chance to even it up, get to 500 today before heading into Sacramento. But, ladies and gentlemen, I will end it there today. We will be back after the game to wrap up the series as a whole, and then we will go over the preview for the series out in Sacramento against the Athletics. So what will happen is I will try to split this into two parts of the video. I will try to split it into the batting and the pitching portion. I'm going to also start giving shorts a try again. I did it with the Bears and it was fairly successful for a while. So I'm gonna start cutting up shorts out of these videos to help get some more exposure for the channel. So we'll see how that works out. But ladies and gentlemen, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think about the Cubs games so far. Do they look a little bit better than the Japan series and spring training, at least the end of spring training? I think so. I think that this Cubs team looks a little bit better than they have been. So I will catch you guys after the game. We will see you all later.